Hey, listeners of the dark. Today, I'm taking you on a journey to a night that was supposed to be just a normal Halloween candy, horror movies, alone in the house. But what if your phone becomes a portal to something not from this world? This is a unique creepypasta inspired by classic haunted house stories and viral Reddit posts. Sit back, turn off the lights, and listen. The terrifying TikTok in the lonely house on Halloween. Let's begin. Good night, sweetie. We'll be back after midnight. My mom said, adjusting her Sandy costume from Greece. Don't forget, extra candy is in the basement in case you run out. I know, Mom. You've told me 6 times already. Just go have fun. I'll be fine. They gave me one last worried glance. At 15, I'd only been left home alone a handful of times. Dad shot me a distrustful sideways look, like he didn't trust me with basic instructions. Reluctantly, they headed to the car for their Halloween party. Okay, no parties, no girls, no booze or drugs. Dad called back ironically. I slammed the door shut and finally alone. Peacefully, magically alone. If you've ever been 15, you remember that wonderful feeling when your parents finally go out for the night and leave you alone to your own devices. It's freedom. The sun had recently set. It was a moonless night. Trick-or-treaters would be out soon. This was my first night handing out candy. I made sure to turn the porch light on so kids knew it was okay to come to the door. It was kind of exciting to be on this side of things for a change. I could eat as much candy as I wanted all night long while watching scary movies and playing video games. I had several horror flicks on my Netflix playlist ready to go. The Babysitter, Scary Movie, The Ring. The night was still young. I didn't feel like committing to a movie just yet, so I sat down on my dad's comfortable faux leather recliner with a bowl of Halloween candy in my lap and pulled up my phone. I figured I'd watch some new TikToks first, then pick up a movie after. I opened the app with one finger while nimbly unwrapping a Reese's cup with my remaining digits. The video that popped up on my feed was dark, difficult to make out. It looked like the person recording was in a forest, but I saw concrete stairs and the familiar-looking wooden boards of a deck or porch. I almost scrolled past it, but then I noticed the deck looked familiar. So did the front door in the video. Ding dong, ding dong! It rang from the speakers. I paused the clip. The Reese's cup still uneaten in my hand. I put it up to my lips to take a bite, thinking the kids outside would wait a minute. Ding dong, ding dong, ding dong. I got up from my chair, candy still whole, and stalked angrily to the door. Damn kids couldn't wait a minute. I'll break the doorbell if they keep attacking it like that. Swinging the door open, ready to yell at the brats. I looked down. Absolutely nobody there. Glancing around, I saw there are no trick-or-treaters anywhere nearby. No other houses were decorated either. I noticed for the first time that mine was the only one lit. It was pitch black outside. The porch light had apparently burnt out within the last few minutes since it had been working when I saw my parents off with light. I closed the door and walked back to the recliner, my heartbeat now ticking just a little faster in my chest. Sitting down, I felt like I couldn't relax. My muscles were tense and stiff. A floorboard creaked above me from the second floor, and I jumped. I told myself that I was being foolish. It was probably just kids outside playing tricks. We moved into that house that summer, and it still felt strange and new to me. I had to get used to its quirks, wheezing, moaning noises it made in the dead of night, sounding ghostly and possessed, the whistling eaves and rattling shutters which sealed off the attic, sounding sometimes like bones shaking in the wind. Muffled screams. Holding my phone in my hand again, I unpaused the TikTok I'd been watching. It was close to the end of the video. The camera panned upwards, and I saw the person raising a black-gloved finger up to press the doorbell. Ding dong, ding dong. The familiar sound rang out through my cell phone speaker. In the video. Nobody came to the door. They began to press the bell. Again and again. Faster and faster. Ding dong, ding dong, ding dong. It was too similar for me not to notice the coincidence. It sounded like what had just happened at my own front door just moments before. Although it was possible I was mistaken. Looking down in the bottom left corner of the screen, I saw it was a user unknown to me. The title of the video was Halloween Takeover. It had just been posted a couple minutes before. Another creaking noise could be heard above me on the second floor, this time sounding more distinctly like footsteps bending the squeaky wooden floorboards. My heart began to pound faster and harder. I felt it in my jugular, in my temple, my throat and mouth were dry. I felt anxious and that got more with each passing second. With a trembling finger, I scrolled up on my TikTok feed, getting rid of the video and moving on to something else. Anything else just been a coincidence. Nothing more. I refused to acknowledge the possibility of it being something more sinister. That was next to impossible, right? The following video was a live feed, I noticed. Had the previous one been one as well? I wasn't sure. It seemed highly possible it could be. I just hadn't noticed. One's back door, someone else's house, but those stone tiles looked very familiar, just like the wooden deck in the previous video had. This time there was no doorbell, so they knocked with a heavy fist. Bang, 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 bang. I jumped up for my seat. I heard the sound coming out of the back door a few moments before I heard it on the app, as if there was a slight delay as it traveled to the cellular network. There was no doubting it. They were at my back door. The same person who was recording the TikTok was outside my house. Feeling suddenly full of righteous indignation, I ran to the back door to give them a piece of my mind. I'd come to my school trying to mess with me. Swinging open the back door with a stinging retort ready on my lips, I looked outside into the night and saw once again there was nobody there. I stepped out of my bare feet onto the grass and looked around for the person responsible. The door hung open behind me, and I paid no attention to it as I yelled out to the night, Hey, I know what you're doing. You won't scare me. All right, come at me. The last statement was one that I would come to regret. Going back inside, I closed the door and locked it behind me. From where I stood, the stairs to the basement were just to the right, the stairs to the main floor straight ahead. The darkness down to my right teased me with its unknown horrors and the possibilities of what lurked within it, drenched in blackness as it was. But I ignored it and went up to the main floor, shuddering and closing the basement door behind me as quickly as I possibly could, feeling as if something would grab my ankle with a cold hand if I lingered for too long. There was a flimsy steel chain lock on the door separating the main floor from the rear exit and from the cold dampness of the basement. We never used it, but this time I slotted it into position with my hands shaking badly. At least it would offer a modicum of security, but from what, I still didn't know. It was beginning to occur to me that it wasn't necessarily a kid from my class doing this. This could be anyone. A murderer? My knees buckled slightly as that thought crossed my mind. I went back to the living room and took a deep breath before sitting down in the recliner. holding the phone in my hands. I debated calling my parents. I thought about how it would sound if I did. Hi, Mom. I was on TikTok. I saw a scary video that rang the doorbell up there. And then somebody knocked at the back door, and there was nobody there, and it sounded delusional. Paranoid. They'd come home. She would say to my dad, I guess you were right. He really isn't ready to be home alone by himself. Maybe next time. There was no way I was going to let that happen. Whoever it was, I could handle them. Getting up, I went down the hall to my room to grab my baseball bat. And as soon as I got there, I had it in my hands and the lights went out. The entire house was suddenly completely dark, eerily quiet, lacking all machine noise. Of course, I had left my cell phone in the living room. With the bat in my hand, I started to feel my way along the wall, finding the doorway and going out of the room into the hallway. The entire house was quiet, dark, and empty as far as I could tell. But then, why did I keep hearing a soft squeak of footsteps coming from the side? That decided it for me. I was going to call the police as soon as I got back to my phone. Slowly moving to blackened space, I felt for the edges of the walls until I was in the kitchen, then moved past the locked basement door, feeling a sense of disquiet as I did so, as if there was someone just on the other side. When I was right up against the basement door, I heard the sound of the knob turning. Goosebumps ran up my spine and covered my entire body. They were inside the house. The flimsy chain would only hold back just the stairs. Judging by the looks, I didn't have much time. Whoever was on the other side of that door was not a kid from my school. I had a very strong feeling about that. They sounded angry and insistent as they turned the knob back and forth and began to hammer and bang on the door. It rattled and shook in its frame. Running as fast as I could, no longer caring if I hurt myself at this point, I ducked out of the kitchen and over to where I left my phone. My intention was to grab it and call 911, but I didn't even get the chance. A loud crash echoed through my house, and I heard the sound of footsteps on the second floor clearly now. Running towards the stairs that led to the ground floor, there was more than one of them in the house. My phone was blinking from where it lay on the recliner's armrest. I ran over to it in the pitch black darkness, bashing my shins against the leg of a dining chair on the way. I finally reached it and unlocked it, just as I heard the basement door creak open loud. The only thing I could think to do at that moment was to turn on the flashlight. I needed to see what the hell I was dealing with. Luckily, I got it on quickly using a shortcut from the home screen, and it turned on, casting the room in a harsh white light. Walking over to the broken door, I saw there was nobody behind it, no culprit who could have caused the damage. My phone dinged. I looked at the screen to see that I'd received a text message from someone, a link to a TikTok. Sorry about your door, a voice was saying in the video. Ghostly, do you have any more candy? Back in the basement was mostly Tootsie Rolls and licorice. I hate licorice. My parents opened the door and found me shaking in the recliner, all the lights turned off, staring at my phone, watching that same video over and over. It was our basement, our candy stash. Really, you sat here all night with the lights off eating candy. My mom asked incredulously. We're gonna have to talk about cutting back on your phone time. I would have thought you would at least give out candy to kids. Maybe watch a scary movie or something? My dad sounded a bit upset, but I was barely registering what he was saying. My mom was going down to the basement. I realized. Start. Mom. don't go down there. But it was too late. In so much trouble, mister. I thought you didn't even like Tootsie Rolls. And that was the night that I learned the ghosts are real. And then, once a year on Halloween, they return to their earthly homes, to the places where they spent their fondest days. Our family had purchased that house from a couple who was downsizing after their kids passed away in a freak accident on a school trip. The son apparently loved TikTok, loved playing pranks on people, and also really loved candy, just not licorice, I guess. The daughter usually played upstairs in her room, was quiet, didn't cause any trouble. Greg and Alice, that was their names. Found out from my parents who had found out from the neighbors. They found out some other details too about other past owners of the house. Some more controversial than others. It's not Greg and Alice who keep me up at night on Halloween, terrified to sleep. It's the other one, the one Greg told me about. He's up in the attic. That's why it was boarded up. He whispered to me in the darkness after my parents had gone to sleep. I crossed the veil. I saw him up there, waiting. Just don't ever unlock those doors or open those blinds. All he needs is a little breathing room, and he'll be out of there next Halloween. And you do not want to run into him. There's a reason he was locked up there to begin with. Halloween will be here again soon, just a couple of weeks, and my dad just decided to start renovations in the attic. The shutters are all off for the first time in decades. The door is hanging wide open. He did it while I was at school. We gotta let it air out, my dad told me with an unrecognizable grin, looking very much unlike himself. You gotta let it breathe. And that's the end of this creepypasta. If you felt a chill down your spine, give it a like and subscribe for more Reddit horrors and narrations. Remember, sometimes what's on your screen is closer than you think. Sweet dreams, or the lack of them.